Hey guys, Jeremy here. I wanted to go ahead and shoot a quick video to help you understand Pix4D a little bit better and maybe to teach you how to use Pix4D to get measurements. So I'm going to kind of help you understand the workflow here. So moving forward, what you're going to do is get a link. That link is going to take you to a specific site within Pix4D. So what we do is we create a new site every time we get a lead. So you won't do this and you won't even see this page, but I'm just going to show you here. We would create a completely new site. Now I'm going to use one that I uploaded yesterday. So I uploaded this data yesterday, and this is a good example. So this project is for Mikhail. Mikhail got a link that will take him to this page. All right, so this page will immediately default to the first data set that was, the last data set that was included. Now, what we're gonna start doing is including more than one data set into that site. This first data set, which is taken in the field on the ground, is a ground scan. This is taken from a phone. Because it's taken from a phone, it can immediately start uploading as soon as it's taken, and those pictures are in Pix4D sooner than the drone pictures. The drone pictures have to be uploaded from a computer because we have to pull the images off of the SD card in the plane and then input them here. There's a couple workarounds I'm working on right now to get those pictures uploaded quicker in the field, but right now we're waiting until that SD card gets back to me, and then we can go ahead and upload them at the end of the day. Ideally, we'll get them uploaded as soon as the SDS is done with that appointment, and so those images will be available much sooner. Now, talking about navigation. From the aerial imagery, you can see when you zoom out, we're just focusing primarily on the center, which is going to be the property that you're working on. Now, down here in the left corner, you can toggle between 2D and 3D. So once again, 2D is going to be an orthomosaic layout. The reason we have to use this instead of just like Google Earth or any other GIS information is the fact that none of that data that you can access on the internet right now is scaled properly. What this does is it takes about anywhere between 30 and 40 to 50 images, and it stitches them together properly based on the GPS location that picture was taken from, and it stitches everything together, it flattens it out, and it scales it properly so that now you can go back in and use these measuring tools to measure. For example, if I do this, I'm going to know that line right there, and this is in meters right now, so I'm going to come down here in the very bottom, you're going to see a little thing that says metric. You can switch to imperial or US imperial, and now that's going to convert to feet, right? So now you can see that measurement. We may be able to adjust how big those measurements show up. It's just in settings I'll have to play with. Now, anything that you annotate here will stay here unless you physically delete it. So if there's more than one person using this design or this link, then they can go in here and see these measurements. So I am currently measuring from the 2D aerial image. So if I want to scale my background image, all I need is one measurement from here to here, and then we can scale that image. But what we're doing instead is we're using cones. Here's an orange cone and an orange cone. We set those cones 20 feet apart from each other. I didn't have my tape measure with me when I was doing this, so this is actually 21 feet 5 inches because I used my Moser to measure them. But normally what we're going to do is always set those cones 20 feet from each other, so that is our scaling point. Now, you don't really need to worry about that because your save file is going to be scaled for you and already in the background. So we'll just take a screenshot from here, and it's already going to be scaled in your design, so you don't have to scale it. But you can always come back here and grab more measurements. So now if I toggle to 3D, now what I can do is use my wheel on my mouse to zoom in and out. I can use my left click button to hold and scroll side to side. I can use my right click button to hold to rotate the screen. So with my wheel, my left click, and my right click, I am able to navigate. All right, now what I'm going to do is come over here. You want to make sure these three buttons are all selected. Don't select the DSM because that's going to give you imagery you don't need. But you want these three, orthomosaic, 3D textured mesh, and point cloud all selected. And you saw when I did that, it added more detail. Now, by the nature of trying to take images from the sky, the camera angle cannot get under the eaves very well, right? And that's why we can't see this back part of the house very well from the drone images. We have to get a camera angle that can get that, and that's not going to happen from the drone. So what we do instead is we do a ground scan with our phone using LiDAR technology that is immediately uploaded into Pix4D. That is this one right over here. So you have two data sets, and up here it's going to show you when those data sets were uploaded. Okay, so they're date stamped. Now, if I back out and go back in, so sometimes you have to like play with it. Now we have all the detail we're looking for in the back of the yard, right? I can go in here because I practiced and I know how to get the scan done well. I can come in here and I can actually see the detail underneath that balcony. I did not go up those stairs, so I did not scan that, nor should I have to. Not a big deal. We're not selling anything up in here. So right here, what you can do is if you want to draw these posts in here, you can go, okay, well, I'm going to use my line tool and I'm going to click here and stretch across and click here. And that's going to give me on center the distance between those. The 2D length is going to be 1.715 meters, or if I toggle back to US Imperial, there we go. Now those on center are going to be about 5.5 feet from each other. Now, it's tricky to measure. So sometimes what you want to do is you want to measure from different vantage points. So if I want to measure the elevation of this balcony, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of get in here and I'm going to click right on the top of that area right there. Then I don't have to, so you see when I'm doing this, it doesn't really know where I'm dragging that line because I'm in a 3D environment right now. So if I just want to draw a straight line to get the height from that point, well, what I'm going to do is it doesn't really matter where I drop that line, okay? Because if I drop it here and double click, it's going to leave that line, and you're going to see as I rotate, because I did that in 3D mode and I did it from a couple different vantage points, you're going to see that that line isn't perfectly straight up and down. I don't care, because what it's going to do is measure the elevation difference between point A and point B down here on the ground. The elevation difference in this case is 10 feet, which is what I would have expected. So you see how accurate that is. If I want to know the elevation change from this point right here by the house all the way further to the back of the property, you see with the ground scan, I can't really get there, right? Because I didn't take all that imagery from the ground scan. So what I can do now is go back to my other one. Now I have my drone image, okay? I can go to the back of the house, okay? And, whoops, escape. And I am going, well, that's not the back of the house. Here's the back of the house, sorry. So I'm going to go ahead and put a line right next to the house on the ground, okay? I'm going to stretch that all the way across to the back of the yard. And that is going to show me the elevation difference from point A to point B. Elevation difference. It drops not even an inch. So you can see that that's a very flat yard. Now, you can take lines from this spot and drag them to different points, and it's going to give you the elevation difference. Now, let's see if this works. Okay, so I'm going to take a point here, and I'm going to go into the neighbor's yard, and I'm going to drop one in the pool right there. Now, hypothetically speaking, that should drop pretty far, okay? And it's showing that from point A to point B, right now I have a 3.5 foot drop elevation difference. So it is grabbing the elevations. This is probably in the shallow end, and it's giving me those elevation changes. Now I wouldn't usually use the pool that's being built as an example, but you can see what's happening here. This is how I'm getting elevations. Now I've tested this, and in a lot of cases, this is giving me even better information than the Moser in a lot of cases. It just depends on whether or not there's a lot of tree canopy that's blocking the way. So as long as we're not blocking the view with a bunch of trees, we can get the elevation difference to any part of the drone image. So right there, that would be 1 foot, 1.58 elevation difference. So then you have 2D length versus 3D length, and that's where you have to get used to this. So toggling from 3D to 2D, when you're measuring in 3D, sometimes you have to play around. It doesn't know exactly where you're trying to measure from. So that's why you have to measure your orientation. I like to do something like this. Like if I want to know the height of this roof, I'm going to go rotate to where I can clearly get a point on that roof and make sure that it took on the roof. So you see how it didn't take on the roof, right? It took from the ground because it has a hard time understanding sometimes where you're trying to grab from. So always check by rotating the view to see where it's grabbing from. So I'm going to try from this position and go from here, and that'll probably be a little bit more successful. Let's see. Yeah, it's grabbing from the roof now. Now I'm going to scroll out, pan, whoops, scroll out, and it's a little tricky to get used to because you have a few different buttons. Now what I want to do is just grab this, and I'm going to drop that line right there on the ground. And let's see what the elevation difference is. Yep, 19.2486 feet. I would think that's pretty darn accurate. That would give me, that's a number I would expect. So between the ground scan, where you're going to get a little bit more detailed images, okay, that's underneath the eaves of the house, and you kind of have to roll back and forth with your wheel to get there, okay? All right, and your aerial imagery, you should be able to get all the detail you need to design. We're also taking some Moser key measurements with Moser just to double check things, but as long as we can get all the aerial imagery we want, we don't have a lot of obstructions blocking the view, then Moser, it becomes less and less relevant. However, I highly recommend you keep a Moser in your pocket at all times when you're with your customers, because sometimes you're going to want to take a quick measurement with them, and it impresses the heck out of them when you drop that Moser down and you can show them that the front to the back is going to drop 6 inches, and we need to account for that, you know, or whatever that is, however that looks. So the Moser is not going to replace this doesn't replace necessarily your need to have a measuring tool in the field. All right, so now if you want to just delete all of these annotations here, now you can write notes in here, you can put points, you can draw boxes, and this is a tool that we're going to start using to brief our construction team before we do the layout, right? So the idea is to get to the point where you are meeting with the construction manager or the supervisor, the area manager, and your dedicated QAS, and you can do that virtually, and you can navigate this entire property and project via Zoom, okay, and go through the whole project and discuss it before we're sitting in front of the customer. Because what I really feel that we need to avoid is having discussions with the construction team in front of the customer with the appearance that we're not on the same page. Because the construction team has to ask us questions. And when they ask us questions and we're answering those questions in front of the customer, it gives the perception that we're not on the same page. I would be asking, why does this construction team not know this yet? Or even worse, if they show up like it happened to me last week, and you know, Dustin and Jeremy were doing a great job with what they do, but because they got there a little bit before me and started doing their thing immediately, because let's face it, they don't always know if the sales rep's going to show up or not, okay, they start talking to customers and asking them questions that should be answered by us, so that they don't have to ask the customer the question, because every single question that's asked that the customer already discussed with us, it makes it look like we're not on the same page. And I have had customers start to panic a little bit and question what's going on because we are not on the same page as our construction team during the layout process. So I feel that we need to start doing a pre-layout discussion, reviewing the project with the drone imagery, reviewing the project with the save file, so that when everybody shows up on site for the layout, everybody's on the same page, and that protects the customer's perception of what's going on. I hope that makes sense to you guys. All right, so once again, your link will take you to this page, and you can start annotating using these tools over on the right, and you can put points, you can label them, you can do all kinds of stuff. I recommend that you use a link that I gave you if you have one, and start playing around. If you don't have one, I'll send you something so that you can start playing around. I hope this is helpful. This is going to be a game changer. It's going to redefine how we do pool business, and it's going to be something that is going to be extremely powerful tool once we get it dialed in, and once we figure out how we're going to share and use this information in a seamless and integrated way. All right, guys, have a good one.